Much for joining me today. I am Dr. Eliza Klearman. I'm the naturopathic doctor with HealthSpan and Vail Health Behavioral Health. And I'm going to talk to you today about creating a toxin-free home. Okay. Let me just see here. Okay. So today we're going to talk about something that often gets overlooked in the pursuit of health, and that is our toxic burden. We all know about diet and exercise, but what about the invisible chemicals that we're exposed to every day? Are we good? Oh no.
Give it a few moments. It may just be uploading. There's a bit of a lag with YouTube. There we go.
Okay. Can we get back on that? There you go. All right. Sorry, guys. Technical issues here. We're working through it. The reality is that we live in a toxic soup, and this isn't really meant to scare you, but it's meant to raise awareness. These exposures can significantly impact our health. But the good news is that there's a lot that we can do to minimize our chemical exposure. So let's start by understanding where these toxins come from. The use of toxins is widespread. Chemicals are used in industry, agriculture, and manufacturing, which makes them part of our daily use. These toxins are present in the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and even in our furniture, clothing, cleaning supplies, and cosmetics. To give you an idea of the scale, each year more than 6.5 billion pounds of chemical pollutants are released into our environment. That's billions of pounds into our soil, our lakes and rivers, and the air we breathe. And this leads to the crucial question, are these chemicals safe? We tend to assume that if a product is on our store shelves, it's been thoroughly tested and safe. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Of the more than 80,000 chemicals in use today, only a few hundred of them have actually been tested for safety. And we know even less about how these chemicals interact with each other in combination, which is actually how we use them. We don't ever really come into contact with just one single compound. We're exposed to multitudes of chemicals all the time. This lack of testing means that we're often unknowingly exposed to substances that could be harmful. So what exactly do these toxins do to our bodies? They interfere with our biology in many ways. They can block enzyme function, which slows down essential processes like energy production. They can displace minerals, weakening our bones and disrupting the nervous system. They can damage our organs, our DNA, and our cell membranes. They alter gene expression, potentially turning off or on disease processes. They can interfere with hormones, mimicking or blocking them. And they can weaken our detoxification pathways, making it harder for our bodies to eliminate these toxins. And as a result of these toxin exposures, we're seeing rising rates of chronic disease linked to these chronic exposures, such as autism, allergies, autoimmune diseases, cancer, diabetes, and many more. Symptoms of toxicity can be varied and subtle, including fatigue, bloating, headaches, brain fog, skin issues, and hormonal imbalances. And you can see how very common these symptoms actually are. The effects of daily exposure really depend on your personal environment. So for example, where you work, like chemicals you might be exposed to on your job, and where you live, like how far away you are from a golf course or a highway, these can play a role in how many toxin exposures you have in your day. So let's get practical. What can we actually do about these exposures? Let's start with something that we do every day, which is eat. When it comes to food, we tend to think about what to eat and how much we eat, but we also need to think about the chemicals that we're eating. Conventionally grown and processed foods are often full of artificial dyes, which are linked to hyperactivity and behavioral issues, preservatives that can disrupt our gut health and our immunity, hormones and antibiotics, which can affect our hormone balance and contribute to antibiotic resistance and alter our microbiomes, and pesticides, which are linked to hormone disruption and gut damage. These chemicals disrupt our hormones, weaken our immune system, damage our gut, and more, all of which are underlying causes of dysfunction and disease and increase our risk for chronic illness. Instead, opt for organic produce, pasture-raised meats, and whole foods. These choices reduce your exposure to harmful chemicals and provide better nutrition. Something just as vital to talk about is our water. Both tap water and bottled water pose significant health risks due to contamination with a wide range of toxic chemicals and endocrine disrupting compounds. Tap water has contaminants such as heavy metals, chlorine and chloramine, fluoride, pharmaceutical residues, pesticides, and PFAS, also known as forever chemicals. Water treatment plants don't effectively remove all pollutants, especially hormone disruptors and industrial chemicals. And even legal levels of contaminants may still pose long-term health risks, especially for vulnerable populations. Bottled water is often not safer than tap water. It may simply be filtered tap water. And then we need to think about the implications of drinking out of single-use plastic containers, which we'll get to on our next slide. The best option is filtered water using a high-quality system such as reverse osmosis or a multi-stage carbon filter, and storing your water in glass or stainless steel containers to avoid plastic contamination. Which brings us to plastic. I'm sure everybody is aware that plastic is everywhere in food containers, utensils, packaging, receipts, and even the lining of cans. Did you all know that in the inside aluminum cans, there's like a little layer of plastic that lines them? So we're being exposed to plastic chemicals constantly, certainly on a day-to-day basis. Plastic contains thousands of chemicals, including BPA, and a lot of BPA has been taken out of plastic, but there are also other chemicals like phthalates, styrene, PFAS, again, and dioxins. And these chemicals are now found in nearly every tissue in the human body, and they're linked to fertility issues, hormonal imbalances, cancer, ADHD, developmental issues, metabolic disease, just to name a few. And with plastics breaking microplastics, we're inhaling them and ingesting them regularly, raising concerns about inflammation, immune disruption, and cellular toxicity. The good news is that there are swaps. So glass and stainless steel are always great go-to for containers. There are beeswax wraps that work really well in place of saran wrap or plastic wrap. Bringing your own cloth bags to the grocery store, even for your produce. Think about like when you're even buying your produce, you're putting the produce into those plastic bags that they provide. And we can bring our own or even just go without. And then choosing fresh food over packaged food, because all that packaged food is wrapped in plastic too. By becoming more conscious of your plastic use, you're not only protecting your own body, but you're helping to protect future generations and the planet too. So let's now move on to what we put on our bodies. Personal care products are a major and often overlooked source of toxic exposure. These are the everyday items that we use on our skin, hair, teeth, and body, and they're one of the most common sources of toxic exposure due to how frequently they're used and how easily their ingredients are absorbed through our skin. Many of these products contain phthalates and parabens, which are both hormone disruptors and that have been linked to breast cancer, infertility, early puberty, and thyroid dysfunction. Fragrances or parfum, you'll see that on a lot of labels, things that make things smell good. This is a term that allows companies to hide dozens of chemicals under a single ingredient name. And these are one of the most toxic components in cosmetics, contributing to allergies, asthma, and hormonal disruption. We have heavy metals that have been found in lipstick and eye makeup and in skin lighteners. And chronic exposure to these low levels of metals contributes to neurodegeneration, autoimmunity, and increased cancer risk. And even these tiny daily doses of toxins from these personal care products accumulate, and they can contribute to chronic disease over time. So avoid anything with fragrance. If you see phthalates, parabens, and synthetic dyes on a label, that's also something to look for that you want to avoid. A great rule of thumb, there's a company called the Environmental Working Group. They're a consumer advocacy group, and they've created something called EWG verified products, which are products that they have researched and are known to be non-toxic and safe for us to use. They have an app called Healthy Living, which I highly recommend, and you can scan a barcode and see what they rate certain products. That's a great way to make sure that you're getting higher quality, less toxic cosmetics and personal care products. And then we have cleaning supplies. Conventional cleaning products are also a major hidden source of toxic exposure in our homes. They release chemicals that pollute our indoor air, irritate our respiratory systems, and disrupt our hormones. Chemicals to watch for include volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. And these are things like formaldehyde, benzene, and toluene. And they're linked to asthma and respiratory irritation, headaches, fatigue, dizziness, hormonal disruption, neurotoxicity, and even cancer. And these products are found in really everything that we use to clean. They're found in disinfectants, glass cleaners, sprays, air fresheners. Antimicrobial agents are another thing to look for, like triclosan. And these are common in disinfecting sprays, wipes, soaps, and sanitizer. And these are linked to antibiotic resistance and thyroid dysfunction. They damage our gut microbiome and may increase the risk of allergies and autoimmunity. And then again, with cleaning supplies, we get fragrances, as if clean is supposed to smell like something. But that is, again, something that we really want to avoid because we know that those are very irritating for us. And then ammonia and bleach, which can cause respiratory irritation and create dangerous fumes when mixed. Long-term exposure can damage our lungs and our liver. So instead of an all-purpose cleaner, vinegar and water work great. And if you want to be fancy, you can add an essential oil like lavender and tea tree oil if you wanted to make it smell good. But vinegar and water can clean just about everything. And if you need to scrub something, I usually recommend baking soda, and mixing baking soda with water makes a great toilet cleaner or tile scrubber. Instead of synthetic air fresheners or plugins, I recommend essential oil diffusers or beeswax candles. Candles are another thing that put those smelly, volatile organic chemicals into our air. Avoiding antibacterial sprays and wipes. Instead, you can use Castile soap or hydrogen peroxide spray. So you want to look for products that are labeled fragrance-free. Environmental Working Group rates cleaning supplies also, laundry soaps, all of those things. So we're looking again for things that are EWG verified or Green Seal certified. And also just remembering that when you do make your own household cleaners, you want to store those also in glass or stainless steel containers, just to bring it back around to plastics. And all of these products together lead us to the air quality inside of our homes. So according to the Environmental Protection Agency, indoor air can be 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. And that's something to really consider, because I know we're all familiar with, we all think about our air quality, our outdoor air quality, but we don't really ever think about our indoor air quality. And some of this comes from the products that we're using, right? Our cleaning supplies, our air fresheners, our cosmetics. But they're also coming from, unfortunately, our clothing, which is sometimes sprayed with fire retardant. Our mattresses are sprayed with fire retardant, and our furniture is also sprayed with fire retardant. We have off-gassing of these volatile organic chemicals off of our furniture and our rugs and our paints that we use in our house. So we really need to decrease the amount of, we really want to improve our indoor quality by paying attention to the products that we buy, choosing things like natural fibers for our furniture and our clothing, using low VOC paints, and then again, paying attention to our cleaning products and our cosmetics and all of those sorts of things. I really do recommend that you open your windows and you let your air circulate every day, even when it's cold. It doesn't take long, but just having a little bit of fresh air into your house every day can really help improve your indoor air quality. Also, using a air purifier, HEPA filters do a great job of helping to clean out your air. And my favorite way is to bring in some broadleaf house plants. Not only do plants filter your air, but they actually help your house look more beautiful as well. In today's world, complete toxin avoidance isn't possible, but you do have tremendous control and power to protect your own health. Each conscious choice, whether it's by swapping out a cleaning product or filtering your water or buying fewer plastic, reduces your toxin burden and supports your body's natural detoxification systems. So just remember that your efforts add up, and start with 1 or 2 swaps that feel doable. Every positive change, no matter how small, moves you closer to a healthy, more resilient life. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sorry. Okay, now we are going to open the floor up for questions for Eliza. I see Josiah started. What are 1 or 2 plants you recommend?
You know what? It doesn't really matter. The bigger the surface area of the leaf, the more air filtering capacity that you have. But I like plants in every single room, and especially I think in your bedroom, when you think about how much time you should be spending in your bedroom asleep every night, making sure that the air quality in your bedroom is really good is important, and that can cut down on a lot of allergy symptoms as well. Any other questions? I think I went through that really quickly.
That was great.
Hopefully I wasn't talking too fast.
No, it was wonderful. I have a few questions. So I know, like you talked about, the fact that there's a lot of steps that we can make and a lot of changes we can implement. For somebody who's new to all of this, and potentially even something that has to be budget friendly, what are a few first steps, first foot in the door kind of changes we can make?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think opening your windows, I think getting some houseplants. Also, the cleaning supplies and cosmetics are quite expensive. So if you think about like how much, I don't even know what the cleaners are, like Mr. Clean. I don't even know what people use anymore. Lysol, how much that costs. Vinegar is like super cheap. Like you can get a gallon for, a couple dollars maybe. So I think that swapping out your cleaning supplies is a great first, really inexpensive step to take. And then trying to limit the amount of different items that you're using every day is another kind of good way to start.
Great. Genevieve is wondering, does the EWG verified product app tell you if products have gluten?
They give you a list of the ingredients on there so you can look yourself, but I don't think that gluten is considered necessarily like one of the chemicals that they're looking for. So I don't think that you're going to see that specified with the EWG.
And then Barry and Lily had similar questions about washing fruits and vegetables. Lily's wondering, if you buy organic, do you have to continue to wash? And then Barry's wondering, what's the best way or your favorite way to wash?
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit of a weird one on that. I don't always wash my produce when I'm buying organic. I mean, I might rinse it. I have a reverse osmosis filter, so I rinse my I do real rinse my produce just with my filtered water, but I don't use a fruit or vegetable wash per se. I think a rinse is enough. Part of that for me is that I kind of want the microbes. I will say that our own personal health is an important part of how well we can handle things like microbes and also things like toxins, right? So we also have to pay attention to our own personal terrain. So, how is your microbiome? How is your immune function? And those things would maybe determine whether or not somebody would maybe pay more attention to washing their produce. But I don't necessarily think that that's a necessity for health or for food safety even.
Kyler is wondering, if you do choose to purchase cleaning supplies, are there any brands that you recommend?
You know, the one that I use personally is called Branch Basics, which it's like a concentrate, and then you mix it in differing amounts with different amounts of water depending on what you're cleaning. So, like a bathroom solution might have more of that Branch Basics and less water, but it's all mixed with water. You have to be really careful because brands like that are, just because it says like free and clear, doesn't necessarily mean that it is non-toxic, or just because it's fragrance free doesn't mean that it's non-toxic. Seventh generation is a great one, a great example. There are some products of seventh generation that the EWG has verified as safe, and then there are other seventh generation products that are not. So really, like looking each one up, I think is an important thing to do.
And then Lily is wondering if there's anything we can do about meat being wrapped in plastic. Do you wash your chicken? Is there any kind of preventative thing that we can do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have not figured that one out yet. And unfortunately, that's how we get meat that's how we get meat. I guess if you were to go to a butcher shop, if you went to a butcher shop and you brought your own glass container and had them weigh out what you want in your container, that would be a way to avoid plastic. But if you're buying plastic from the grocery, or if you're buying meat from the grocery store, I don't think there's any alternative. Maybe at the deli too, you could bring your own container to the deli and have them weigh out meat you're buying that way.
Another question is, with cosmetics and EWG ratings, do you have a score you shoot to be under? What brands of cosmetics do you use? And sunscreen?
Yeah, sunscreen. Sunscreen is a whole other story. So yeah, I mean, this is a great example because of chemicals that have been tested and chemicals that have not been tested. So if you go on the EWG Healthy Living app, and you say you scan a barcode, they give a grade. And so they give an overall grade, and then they look at all of the chemicals that are in there, and they give each chemical a grade, and they give a reason why they're giving that chemical the grade. But there's so many chemicals that are unknown. So even on that EWG app, it will say like unknown, this chemical unknown. It just has not been studied. So when I am personally looking for products, I look for things that have an A grade, because that's what they're going to know the most. They have the most information from these things. So I look for A grade things. And I have a gluten intolerance. So I do, Genevieve, look for things that are gluten-free. That's an important piece of it for me personally, but not for everybody. Sunscreen is a whole other story, but again, EWG will have graded sunscreen. I really like the physical block sunscreen, so zinc, and not the nano zinc, because the nano zinc can be absorbed, but just zinc sunscreen, zinc oxide that sits on top of the skin, acts as a physical block of the sun against your skin so that you're not absorbing any of the chemicals from the sunscreen. And then just another thing with sunscreen or with cleaning supplies and things in general is that anything that has an aerosol spray or anything that is sprayed is going to aerosolize and be airborne, and you can inhale those things also. So really not a fan of those spray sunscreen, even though they're lovely to use and they've got great coverage. You are going to be inhaling some of that. And they have reported that there has been respiratory, issues from using those types of sunscreens.
Okay, maybe our last question. For people with children, I feel like plastic is everywhere so that they don't break it and you don't run into that issue. Do you have recommendations along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I like those. There's glass water bottles that have a silicone cover on them, so that they don't shatter when they break. That's really what I would use, and then I would avoid things like plastic dishes and Tupperware. Most of the glass products that are sold, like the glass Tupperwares, the glass containers, they're tempered. So, it takes I think it takes kind of a lot of force in order to break something like that, even if you drop them. The issue is that their glass is heavier. So you could use stainless steel. And there are tons of stainless steel water bottles, out there in all the sizes. There are stainless steel little Tupperware containers now. So that's probably what I would use for children.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining our YouTube Live Masterclass today with Dr. Eliza Klearman. I will be sending out an email with her slides as well as a handout she created for everybody to take with them. This will be recorded and kept on our YouTube channel for you to access whenever you would like. Please share it with any friends that may be interested in it. We would love to kind of open this up to the community as much as possible. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Eliza.
Thank you.
Oh.